Hello everyone, my name is Kathy. I usually teach fitness classes, but I'm also a naturality teacher, so today I will be talking about naturality and mindfulness. Naturality is a path that allows us to get to know our true selves. There are so many doors to naturality, such as yoga, tai chi, music, chanting, dancing, painting. Basically, whatever our interest and passion is could be a door to naturality, even politics. And today I will be focusing on meditation, which is another door to it. Now, by the end of this video, we are going to learn why we have to bring our nature and nurture together, work in harmony, hand in hand. Now, basically, most of the problems that we go through, most of the conflicts that we suffer from, come from our biology, from inside of us. But somehow we are looking and seeking for answers to those problems in the outside world, thinking that we can find solution to those problems. But the reality is, even if we find a solution to those problems, they're not going to be permanent. And they're only going to be temporary. Because, as I said before, the core of the problem is sitting within us. It's laid inside of us. And in order to fix those problems properly, we need to dig into ourselves, find the cause of that problem, and fix it from there. Now, I have a question. What do you think the difference between animals and humans is? You may think there's so many differences, which is true. But there's one significant one, which is self-awareness. There are some animals that are more self-aware compared to the other ones, such as dolphins, dogs, chimpanzees, compared to lizards and snakes. But the kind of self-awareness that those animals exhibit is different from ours. For example, if an animal is experiencing an emotion, the animal does not own that emotion. Whereas in humans, if we experience an emotion, we are going to own it. So if I'm sad or I'm happy, I'm going to walk around and say I'm sad or I'm happy. So I own that sadness or happiness. Another difference is when an animal is experiencing an emotion, his emotion of that experience is moment to moment to moment. Meaning that the animal is not going to remember how he felt like a minute ago, and he's not going to anticipate how he's going to feel like a minute later. Whereas in humans, usually our experience starts in the past and extends all the way to the future. So it can be good because we can remember exactly what happened, how it happened, and it shows our long-term memory. But at the same time, it actually we kind of get stuck between the past and future and all these memories and experiences, and we kind of miss the present moment. I tell you another example. If a cat is abused, the cat is not going to think about that abuse continuously and is not going to anticipate the future the way we do. But if such a thing happened to us, we will continuously think about that abuse. We will remember it for our entire lives. And in some cases, we don't even let go of it. So we keep thinking and thinking about it. So it could be bad, or it could be a curse. I tell you another story or example. I'm sure most of you have heard the story of Adam and Eve in heaven. The moment that they have the very first bite of apple of knowledge, they become self-aware. They become aware of themselves and they become aware of the nudity. And they start covering themselves. At that moment, they were expelled from the kingdom of heaven. And even though this is a metaphor, but it still shows us how this self-awareness can be a curse. Now, the human children become aware of themselves at the age of 2 to 3. So at this point, when they become aware of themselves, the sense of ownership emerges in them, and the word I, my, or mine come to the picture and become so meaningful to them. And we can hear them using it all the time. I want to do this, my book, and so on. At this point, they become aware of their body parts and they even become self-conscious about it. Now, when this I becomes emerges in them and becomes important and come to the picture, things start changing. Now, we are all born with this biological fear, which is built in us. It's a great emotion that protects us. Biological fear is when there is immediate danger and we take actions to save ourselves. For example, if there is a fire and we face with the fire, we automatically go on fight and flight, and then we take actions to save ourselves. So this is a great emotion and all humans should have it. And if somebody does not own that emotion, that means that person, like biologically, there's something wrong with that person. Now, the problem arises when this biological fear becomes psychological fear. Psychological fear is when there is no immediate danger. So we are referring upon something that happened in the past, therefore we think it would happen again. So we keep accumulating information from the past to anticipate the future. We keep preparing ourselves for the future, it's a good ability, it's great. That is why we humans are the most creative and innovative creatures. That is why we have we can actually make a bright future for ourselves, and generally we have a better survival. But again, as I said before, because of that, we get also stuck between past and future this time, and we miss the present moment with all its opportunities. Now that this owner, I, is in the picture, time and psychological fear are in the picture, the concept of death emerges. Now we are going to think, if I was born at one point, therefore I will die in another. So I'm mortal. Then we start doing whatever we could to postpone this death. We anticipate all the potential dangers and we make ourselves prepared for it. But no matter what we do, we know that this physical body is gonna die at one point. Then we are going to think, okay, so I'm gonna do something to make sure that at least my name remains. So we start taking pictures, building monuments, even leaving money behind for our family members, so they could think of us when we're gone. And this is how we as adults are going to face the concept of death and this psychological fear. But our children, if they see a death scene on TV, they are going to keep thinking about it, and they're going to keep thinking about, what if this happens to my parents or to myself? And they're going to be frightened for no reason, even though there's no immediate danger, but they're still frightened. And it's so real to them. And since they're children, they don't know how to deal with it. And then at this point, we are going to step in to help them out. So we start telling them stories and myths based on our beliefs, based on our religion and culture, and probably society, to give them that sense of comfortness, to make them feel loved and safe, of course. And then when they get older, they go to school, and the school does the same thing. They're going to give them a bunch of information and data based on the same beliefs and the same religion or culture, because they live in the same society. And then these children are going to build this filter around themselves. This filter is required, especially because the human brain is not born mature enough to experience fully functional individual. So they have to have this opportunity to build this filter properly around themselves, to have that sense of love and security, to have that sense of belonging. And if somebody is not successful to build that filter properly in the early ages of their lives, they're going to have problems later on when they get older. They're going to suffer from mental illnesses because of that. For example, the children of war usually have that problem because they lose their parents in the early ages of their lives, and they don't exactly know where they came from. So this filter is required until the age of almost 25. And then at that point, we have to start thinking about the layer beneath that, the one that we were born with it, our innate talent. But what we do is, because we have become so unfamiliar with that part of ourselves, we keep ignoring it. Because we don't know how the society is going to respond to that part of us, we keep ignoring it. But what happens is that nature is not going to keep quiet. It's going to keep yelling and screaming because it wants to be heard and it wants to be seen. At this point, our nature and nurture are in conflict. But because we keep ignoring our nature becomes the slave of our mind and the slave of this filter that we built around ourselves. Now, there is no stimulation from inside to make us happy anymore. And then all those pleasure centers are gonna go dormant. And we are going to lose that sense of well-being because of that. And nothing can make us happy anymore. And since we start losing that sense of well-being, our bodies start showing reactions to it. All different kinds of illnesses are going to show up, such as fatigue, depression, anxiety, cancer, autoimmune disorder, and so on. We go to the doctors, they give us a bunch of medications, and we take them for a while, and they may help us for a while, but after that they either stop working or we are going to get addicted to them and we want more and more. And once we realize that this medication is not going to help us permanently, we may go after wrong things. We may turn to food, drugs, sex, money. We even think of buying a bigger house or a better car, thinking that they could bring our happiness back. And we may try them all, and then in one point we are going to realize that they are not going to help us either, because we either become addicted to them or we can't afford buying them anymore. Then at this point we are going to feel like that we are thrown to this dark area and space that we don't know what to do. We feel lost in that area because nothing can help us anymore. Even the filter that we spent so many years building around ourselves is not helping. It was required at one point, but now it's not helping us. Now we have to find another solution. And Naturality is offering one. And as I said before, there's so many doors to Naturality, and one of them is meditation. But what is meditation? Before I start talking about meditation, I just want to say all those years that we spent building this filter around ourselves, all those years that we spent collecting these identities for ourselves, we were in a hypnotic state. We were hypnotized by society and culture. And this is exactly what a hypnotherapist does. They give us a bunch of information that is not in our programming, and then they want us to follow it and do it. And this is exactly what we were doing. We were doing what we were told and asked to do. We were doing what we were taught to do. So we were hypnotized by society and culture. Now that we are stuck in this dark space, we need to help ourselves to come out of it. And in order to come out of this dark space, we need to put ourselves in another hypnotic state. So from one hypnotic state, we are going to go to another hypnotic state. But this time, we are going to hypnotize ourselves. Last time, we were hypnotized by society, but this time, we are hypnotizing ourselves to get to know our authentic selves in order to recreate ourselves according to our nature. And this is going to happen through meditation. But what is meditation? Meditation is not a technique. Meditation is not sitting in a particular way and saying particular words. Meditation is a natural state of being that is embedded in us. But since we lost touch with that part of ourselves, we don't know how to get into that state anymore. That is why we need a technique. That is why we need to practice. And the technique that we are going to use has to be suitable for our body. We have to find one that works for us. Meditation is just like sleeping. Before we go to bed, we need to make some preparation. We need to brush our teeth. We probably need to get changed into our PJs, get into the bed, and then the act of sleeping happens by itself. We don't force ourselves to sleep. And meditation is the same. We need to prepare ourselves for it, but meditation has to happen by itself. We don't force ourselves to it. Now, the technique that we use is going to quiet our mind and is going to reconnect us to our body and breath. And little by little, we are going to dig into ourselves and get to know our true selves. We are going to get to know our innate talents. We are going to get to know our passion, interests. We are going to find out what our interests are as far as activities in the outside world. And then at this point that we know our true selves, our natural selves, we are going to make some adjustments. We don't need to delete one or another. All we have to do is just make some adjustment to bring these two together. We need to make them compatible to each other. So we're gonna make some adjustments in our nurture according to our nature. And then once this happens, our body is going to start becoming internally balanced. And we are going to get that homeostasis. And all those pleasure centers that were blocked once, they're going to open again. And we are going to get our sense of well-being back again. And this is why we need to bring our nature and nurture together to work in harmony, hand in hand. And we can do this through meditation. And this is what meditation does. So meditation is a natural state of being that is embedded in us. So we need to find that part of ourselves that is lost in ourselves. We need to reconnect to it. So I hope you find this video beneficial and useful to you. Please stay safe and healthy, and I'll see you in my next video.